Something funny happened to me yesterday, and I feel the need to share it with you all. Isn't it something how Mark Anthony and Candy Cow think I'm some kind of violent psychopath, even though they're kind of psychopathic projection. But then this guy, I don't remember his full name, I think it was Timothy, whatever, told me that I am not radical enough, that I am too moderate, and that, I'm an idiot because I wouldn't blindly kill people labeled as fascists. Now, what does fascist mean? See, I go by the definition of things are defined by certain characteristics that make them something in particular. A is A. A fascist should be something that can be distinguished from something else. And that's difficult to do. Because if you go by Rev Left, many communists are red fascists. And if you go by some liberal group, they're going to call anybody that's remotely conservative in their mind as fascist. Fascist has become this all-encompassing word of someone you do not like as opposed to what it actually is, and if its characteristics are negative to humanity in general. Now, this is not to say that fascism isn't an ideology and isn't destructive to the human genome, but people are not willing to give it that definition. For example, I could say the same about communism, and I will. This guy, Timothy, is not a communist. A lot of these liberal retards that I talk to are not real communists. They might be upset with the capitalist enterprise, but they are not communists, because communism has three characteristics, and I'm only going to list three of them. Anything else outside of these three is not in particular to what defines a communist, only, personal feelings involved. And even I myself have personal feelings, but I do not include them in my communist rhetoric. For example, part of being a communist is rejecting the notion of private property. If you support private property, you can't be a communist. If you support class hierarchy, you can't be a communist. If you support, the separatism based on race or nationality or religion, you cannot be a communist. The ultimate goal is to eliminate these three things. You gotta eliminate social hierarchy, you gotta eliminate separatism, and you have to eliminate private property. What do all three of these things have in common? Moderators. All three of these things are defined as something that is required in order to be a moderator. So, if a so-called communist defends moderators, they are not real communists. I am basing that off factual evidence of what defines a communist, not based off of, I don't like their particular position on that thing, or they are not fundamentalist enough for me, or, they're not willing to kill the bad people, or something like that. If they have those three characteristics, they physically cannot be a communist. Timothy is not a communist. Even my good friend Jaina is not a communist, because they are not willing to say that moderators are the epitome of anti-communism, when they are. So, understanding that, I just find it funny that Timothy is butthurt because I'm not willing to say that everyone should die just because they are not of our ideology. I think they're ignorant. I think their ignorance is hurting us. But I also think that they are human beings entitled with certain rights that we need to respect, regardless of whether or not they're wrong, regardless of whether or not they've hurt people. The only people that need to be hurt and need to be killed are moderators. Period. And somehow that makes me both a radical, fundamentalist, violent terrorist, and at the same time makes me this goody-two-shoe, sugar gumdrop hippie. It can't be both. You have to, so you need to define the characteristics of what Jim Prophet is. Jim Prophet is an A as well. So, what are those particular characteristics that define Jim Prophet? Is Jim Prophet too centrist? Is Jim Prophet too radical? Is Jim Prophet just right, like a bowl of porridge? But that's the thing. People don't want to think. But but then they want to criticize, and then they want to stick their 2 cents in. They don't know jack shit. And, you know, it aggravates me with Mark Anthony and Candy Cow, and I'm going to be honest right here. Candy Cow and Mark Anthony are not moderators, as much as they would like to be. They do not have the characteristics to be moderators. They might defend moderators, and for that, they should be punished for it. But they themselves are not moderators, because they don't own capital, they have no means of owning capital, they can't exploit people or anything, so they have no class hierarchy to speak of, and, you know, they cannot separate the classes. I would say moderators commit separatism by extension of the many different websites and many cultures that are created from those many different websites. For example, you can't mention 4chan on 420chan. Oh, 420chan is full of fucking drug addicts and people that break the law constantly, but they think they're better than 4chan, and vice versa. But, so, you get treated like shit and banned for mentioning those who should not be named, but meanwhile, they're going to do that to you anyway. It's not about the separatism. It's just about control through separatism. But they have no desire to actually, you know, have a revolution of some sort. They have no desire to reach a level of self-determination to escape the tyranny of 4chan. That's where people made the mistake with 4chan. People thought that 4chan was going to be 4chan without all the moderators and bullshit, because they were going to have the politics board, and that was going to be the central thing of 4chan without, you know, Moot and his little goons. It didn't turn out that way. Why? Because it wasn't about self-determination. It was about power. It was about Steve and his little bastards having power over those that were seeking refuge, over those that were seeking something better than 4chan. That is how nationalism works. That's why nationalism is not only reactionary, it's counter-revolutionary. It's designed that way. It's designed to control people. So, understanding all of that, moderators epitomize what communists are against. That's why I can be both a communist and militantly against moderators at the same time. Just because in your mind it's like an Indiana Jones movie where communists just shoot each other with a Lugermorph or whatever, it doesn't work that way. Communism is about militantly being against, you know, illegitimate authority. And moderators are the epitome of illegitimate authority. And, you know, I need to mention Mark Anthony and Candy Cow because they seem to be under the impression that they need to make it their mission in life to do something about Jim Profit. And I'm warning you right now, I've gone easy on you both because you're mentally handicapped. But if you want me to treat you like a moderator, I will. And you are not prepared for that. That's how I can prove to you what I am saying here, that A is A. You are not moderators. You are not prepared for what I have in store for you. And, you know, while you may want to defend them, while you may adore them, you do not want to get in this battle. Because all I have to do, in Candy Cow's case, is dox him. And I don't need to dox him personally. I know he wouldn't care. He wouldn't comprehend it. I could dox his father. His father is an overprotective, militant Christian. He knows this, I know this. And I know if that his father finds out that somebody doxed them, he's gonna freak the fuck out. Then it's not gonna be me that Candy Cow has to worry about, it's gonna have to be his crazy ass father that he's gonna have to worry about. So, knowing how easy it is to set his father off into a blaze and make that his problem, not only a physical problem, but an emotional problem, do you really think it's a good idea to get on Jim Profit's bad side, Candy Cow? Do you really think that, you know, announcing that you're flagging all my videos is, you know, safe and a smart idea? No. But the only reason why I haven't fucked with you so far is because I know you're not a moderator. I know you love moderators, and that boils my blood, but you yourself are no threat to me. And if you were a threat to me, I would take full advantage of your crazy-ass father, and maybe he would beat you, or disown you, or just take away your computer. I don't fucking know. I don't know your life. But I know it would make things difficult for you. So don't go down that road, because if you keep pushing it, I'll do it anyway, just to prove a point, because that's the way I am. I know the characteristics that define Jim Profit. Do you? Does anybody else? So that's what you need to worry about. You need to reflect and study upon the characteristics, the properties that define what things are. And then from there, you can determine good and evil. Otherwise, you're just fucking stupid. You're being left in the dark. That's really all I have to say.